for 3,000 years until Alexander the Great's armies conquered it in the 4th century BC. Ancient Egypt was the most important civilization in the world.
Under layers of old sands, in a sun-baked corner of Egypt, a fiend was found that would cause waves in the fields of faith and history. Uncovering a delicate papyrus with ancient Greek language bearing a name that rang across millennia, archaeologists and academics meticulously worked through the book to find a remarkable narrative of a 5-year-old Jesus healing a miracle, therefore subverting all we knew about his early years. This is the narrative of those early marvels of faith, hope, and the divine presence that transformed a tiny community and reverberated over millennia. Number 1. The Discovery. Links between other historical books and relics began to show, therefore enhancing the knowledge of past scriptures. The papyrus clarifies the early life and lessons of Jesus by presenting a whole picture of them. Scholars were astounded by the minute details and powerful vocabulary carried on the flimsy scroll. Rising over the site of active Egyptian archaeology, the light warmed the sand and stone. Renowned archaeologists worked on recovering old objects. For weeks they had been painstakingly clearing a place allegedly to contain important historical relics. Among their discoveries were some old papyrus scrolls buried down below in a chamber. Their hands shook as they unfolded the thin papyrus to expose an ancient Greek work titled Jesus. At the likely relevance of their discovery, the camp buzzed with expectation. Number 2. The enigmatic text. Linguists and academics gathered backstage to decipher the just-found papyrus. The room hummed with expectation as they set on the labor-intensive task of reading the ancient book. The more they read, the more surprised they became. The book described an amazing event in Nazareth when a 5-year-old Jesus healed an injured lad known as Elias. The detailed depiction of the miracle startled the intellectuals since they understood it may change historical and religious narratives. The crew began debating the consequences of the discovery. Some urged caution, while others were ready to share their findings around the world. Number 3. Setting the context. Little but vibrant, Nazareth in Galilee was a singing activity. While sellers screamed for their items at the market, children ran in the dusty streets. Among them was small Jesus, a child of extraordinary presence. His parents, Mary and Joseph, watched after him with both admiration and doubt. Their small house exuded love and coziness. Often helping Joseph in his carpenter business, Jesus taught him the craft and picked skills in patience and workmanship. Though his days were filled with the typical activities of a tiny child, he had many special qualities. Number 4. The original child. Even when young, Jesus had exceptional traits that set him apart from others. His calm brain and great observations indelibly affected everyone he came across. Children were captivated by his compassion and justice. Village chiefs were amazed by his command of the scriptures. Stories of his extraordinary behavior circulated in Nazareth and drew friends and neighbors. Mary would often think about these things in her heart, knowing her child was meant for something different. The locals mumbled about the boy's apparent intelligence above his years and speculated about his fate. Number 5. The event. One tragic day, the neighborhood got together for festivities. Families having fun were everywhere loudly laughing and singing. Elias, a tiny child playing near a building site during the celebration, was caught in a horrific accident. He suffered greatly as a large pillar dropped. Their faces blanched with dread. Panic tore across the assembly as his parents ran to his side. The celebration was interrupted short, and the onlookers watched in horror, not knowing how to help the injured young man. Number 6. The miracle. Young Jesus looked coolly and deliberately forward amidst the chaos, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the surrounding turmoil. He moved with purpose, his steps unhurried, and came to kneel beside the injured lad, Elias. As he knelt, a hush fell over the crowd, their eyes fixed on the young healer. Jesus gently laid his small yet powerful hands on the open wound, his touch tender and filled with passion. He closed his eyes in deep concentration, his face serene and focused. From his hands, a warm, brilliant light began to emanate, gradually growing in intensity until it engulfed Elias in a comforting glow. The warmth of the light seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, soothing and healing. As the moments passed, the deep gash in Elias's side started to mend. Skin knitted together, bruises faded, and within a few minutes, the injury had completely vanished. Elias, who had been pale and weak moments before, now stood tall and unharmed. Number 7. Ripples of wonder. The miracle went like wildfire in word of mouth. People from surrounding villages came to view the man who had done such a wonderful thing. Ready to witness yet another miracle, both believers and detractors gathered. The house of Mary and Joseph became a pilgrimage place as visitors sought blessings and healing. Knowing the meaning behind the events that had happened, the family gently negotiated this more focused attention. Jesus appealed to everyone who came to see him by also displaying his brilliance and compassion. The small village soon transformed into a bustling hub of activity as merchants set up stalls to cater to the influx of visitors. Local inns were filled to capacity, and makeshift shelters sprung up to accommodate those who had traveled from afar. Amidst this fervor, the local authorities took note of the growing crowds, wary of the potential for unrest. However, the palpable sense of hope and reverence that pervaded the air kept tensions at bay. The miracle not only brought people together, but also fostered a sense of unity and purpose, transcending the boundaries of faith and skepticism. Number 8. The village reaction. The officials of the town gathered to review the amazing event. Opinions were divided. Some welcomed the miracle as proof of divine intervention, while others were cautious about such happenings because of their prospective consequences. As the individuals battled their concepts, contentious debates and conversations ensued. Elias and his family expressed gratitude at the same moment, since the miracle had changed their life. They started becoming fervent disciples of Jesus, inspiring others to believe by telling tales of his divine power. As weeks turned into months, the miracle grew to define the hamlet's collective memory. Originally, suspicious elders began to rethink their view after witnessing Jesus' relentless acts of knowledge and compassion. As many of them were looking for a spiritual explanation of what they had seen, local synagogues drew additional people. Every house had the miracle told, and every tale added to the aura surrounding young Jesus. The presence of Jesus in the village created an atmosphere of anticipation and reverence. Parents brought their children to him, hoping for a touch or a blessing that might ensure a prosperous future. Farmers and shepherds sought his counsel, finding wisdom and comfort in his words. As the stories of his miracles spread even further, people from distant regions began their journey to the small village, transforming it into a beacon of faith and hope. This influx of visitors and their shared stories continued to shape the village's identity, knitting the community closer together with a common thread of miraculous wonder and a growing belief in the extraordinary nature of Jesus. Number 9. The case of the scholars. Finding the papyrus set off fierce discussion among historians and intellectuals in contemporary culture. Along with the general audience, academic groups monitored the project. Media sources covered the narrative widely, attracted attention, and started discussion. Professionals argued fiercely on the passage's validity and interpretations and offered many ideas. Drawing attention from historical and theological cultures all around, the importance of the papyrus in comprehending early Christianity became ever more obvious as the debate went on. the intellectual setting throbbed with passion and doubt. Conferences and published papers offered many points of view on the worth of the book. Although some academics claimed the papyrus was a vital missing link in the historical puzzle of Jesus' life, others cautioned against hasty decisions taken without sufficient evidence. Religious leaders and common people alike remarked on the ramifications of the miraculous story as the arguments burst into public forums. Number 10. Unidentified notes. Researchers discovered layers of relevance and secret messages deeper into the papyrus. The work exposed intricacies buried over millennia, therefore clarifying early Christian concepts and practices. Links between other historical books and relics began to show, therefore enhancing the knowledge of past scriptures. The papyrus clarifies the early life and lessons of Jesus by presenting a whole picture of them. Scholars were astounded by the minute details and powerful vocabulary carried on the flimsy scroll. The team found parallels between less well-known customs and beliefs, tying early Christianity to other modern spiritual organizations. These discoveries suggested that Jesus' early teachings matched a more general theological discourse of the day, therefore offering fresh directions of study, each having a powerful moral lesson appealing to readers of both antiquity and current times. The papyrus also included parables and proverbs credited to the young Jesus. Among these revelations were hidden references to communal rituals and prayers that bore striking similarities to practices in neighboring religious traditions. This commonality pointed to a rich, interconnected tapestry of spiritual thought prevalent during that era. The papyrus also contained rare insights into the everyday life of early Christian communities, shedding light on their social structures, rites of passage, and communal gatherings. As scholars pored over the text, they unearthed profound connections between Jesus' teachings and those of other influential religious figures of the time, painting a broader picture of the spiritual landscape in which Christianity emerged. This newfound understanding not only deepened the historical context of early Christian teachings, but also illuminated the universal themes of compassion, wisdom, and justice that resonate across different faiths. Number 11. A second miracle. Back in Nazareth, still another amazing incident occurred. Long a fixture in the neighborhood, Simon, a blind man, went up to Jesus. As Jesus prayed and rested his palms over Simon's eyes, the throng watched with tense breath. Simon opened his eyes moments later and for the first time in years could see. The residents burst into a happy celebration, their faith in the young lad confirmed. But when the miracles questioned accepted religious and societal mores, tensions kept growing and the people started to separate. Healing Simon was the buzz of the town and beyond. Hoping to see a miracle or get Jesus' blessings, people from nearby towns shocked Nazareth. Although the flood of guests brought financial gains, local government and religious leaders also became more under scrutiny. While some started to see Jesus as a lighthouse of hope in trying circumstances, others started to see him as a challenge to their authority and influence. Number 12. Roman pervasiveness. The tension was heightened by Roman soldiers stationed in Nazareth. Any upheaval threatening their rule made the occupying troops cautious. It was not lost on anyone the growing impact of young Jesus. Always vigilant to possible challenges to their authority, Roman officials started to keep a careful eye on him. Knowing that the miracles carried the danger of drawing unwelcome Roman notice, even as they inspired hope, the population was on edge. Knowing the careful equilibrium they had to preserve, Jesus' relatives stayed alert. Roman centurions walked the streets more often. Number 13. An examining faith. The miracles of their son presented Mary and Joseph with far more difficulties. Political officials and religious leaders pushed them, seeking justifications and evidence of the remarkable events. Though the family came under scrutiny and suspicion, their faith stayed unbroken. Mary trusted in the divine plan for her son and would find comfort in prayer. Always the shield, Joseph moved to keep Jesus secure from possible injury. Knowing that their son's fate was determined by a higher force, they stayed strong in the face of threats and uncertainty. The pressure from religious leaders and municipal officials got more strong. Called to conferences, Mary and Joseph were asked about the behavior of their son. While some cautioned of terrible results, should Jesus' power keep rising, others accused them of creating the miracles for personal benefit. The miracles of their son, trust in their son's heavenly mission, gave them the fortitude to face these challenges even under growing pressure. Seeking direction and safety, they found solace in their consistent conviction about the fate of their son. Number 14. The Gathering Storm. As groups developed around the young miracle worker, unrest erupted in the village. Believing in Jesus' heavenly power, supporters gathered behind him. Detractors and rivals planned against him. Tension was evident in the air as the society teetered on the verge of strife. Still, Jesus was cool-headed and unaffected by the mounting hostilities. Hoping to bring the split village together, he kept teaching and healing, sharing love and compassion messages. The growing impact of Jesus attracted both respect and envy. Fearing a disturbance of their power, some village chiefs started plotting against him. Trying to reduce his followers, they disseminated rumors and planted seeds of uncertainty. Jesus' supporters, meanwhile, grew more committed and created a close-knit group that met often to hear his lessons and see his healing. The community was a powder keg, just waiting to blow. Number 15. A love letter. Rising tensions drove Jesus to start delivering lessons of love, compassion, and forgiveness. His words and actions attracted supporters who wanted more. Among them were people lured by his charm and insight who would subsequently be his students. The people responded strongly to Jesus' lessons, which gave them hope and direction during trying circumstances. Drawing people together, his message of pure love and acceptance started to mend the divisions in society. Often in broad fields or beside the village well, where big gatherings could assemble, Jesus' teachings, speaking of a compassionate and forgiving God, he exhorted his listeners to love their neighbors and pardon their foes. Simple yet profound, his stories were loaded with knowledge spanning decades. His remarks comforted many, and many were inspired to modify their behavior. The tension started to fade as society adopted his ideas and was replaced with togetherness and hope. Number 16. The skeptics. Not everyone bought Jesus' miracles. A group of doubters surfaced, challenging the veracity of behavior. Seeking to discredit Jesus' increasing power, they charged him with deception and manipulation. Arguments and confrontations between believers and non-believers started to be regular. Jesus taught via parables and examples, patiently and sympathetically answering uncertainty. Some critics were swayed by his knowledge and humility. Others stayed firmly disbelieving. Often publicly confronting Jesus, the critics created a vociferous minority. They questioned his lessons and insisted on evidence of his miracles. Jesus, though, stayed calm. He kindly answered their queries and addressed their misgivings. Many, including some of the critics who started to change their minds, found his cool-headed and logical answers impressive. A few doubters were changed over time to become some of Jesus' most fervent supporters. Number 17. The Divine Revealed. With his followers, Jesus revealed deeper truths about the nature of God and the kingdom of heaven using great insights and lessons. His listeners were in wonder at moments of supernatural revelation. Therefore, enhancing their faith and dedication. Encouraging his followers to lead moral and compassionate lifestyles, Jesus described a loving and forgiving God. His words connected with them, seeds of belief planted in their hearts, motivating them to share his love and hope message. One of his meetings saw Jesus show a vision of the kingdom of heaven. He said of it as a place of harmony and calm, where love and compassion were supreme. His vision enthralled his supporters, who also felt a fresh motivation. Jesus also worked a few more miracles, curing illness and consoling the bereaved. Every act of kindness enhanced his message and attracted additional supporters to his cause. The supernatural disclosures and miracles confirmed Jesus' position as a prophet and spiritual leader. Number 18. The threat hidden inside. The threats directed against Jesus intensified along with his impact. Threatened by his authority, political leaders and religious leaders planned to discredit him. Plans and secret meetings developed meant to defame and damage the young miracle worker. Constantly watchful, Mary and Joseph moved to guard their son from possible harm. Aware of the hazards but dedicated to their holy vocation, the family negotiated this demanding era with faith and will. Joseph overheard a discussion among local chiefs planning to accuse Jesus of blasphemy one evening. Concerned about his son's safety, he told Mary. They chose to be cautious, closely monitoring Jesus and avoiding possible traps their enemies had laid. Jesus carried on his work despite the approaching hazards. He was not determined by them. His faith and bravery motivated his supporters to gather to guard him from injury. Number 19. A temple miracle. Jesus worked another miracle on a trip to the nearby temple. Seeking a cure, a disabled man called Benjamin went up to Jesus. After a brief period of intensive prayer, Benjamin stood up and started his first step in years when Jesus rested his hands on his legs. The temple burst in thanks and wonder as the viewers watched a holy deed. Though it also heightened the criticism from religious authorities, this miracle confirmed Jesus' reputation and raised his popularity. Many, including eminent religious leaders, saw the miracle in the temple. The immediately shared news attracted even more people to Jesus. Still, the temple authorities disagreed. While some felt the miracle threatened their authority, others considered it as evidence of divine favor. They called a council to go over the ramifications of Jesus' deeds and decide whether to back him or find means of quieting him. The conflict between the accepted religious hierarchy and the rising faith in Jesus persisted in building. Number 6. Number 20. The miracle. The offset. Jesus and his family chose to flee Nazareth for safety when hostilities there approached a breaking point. Emotional farewells accompanied their departure. Supporters pledged to keep sharing his lessons. Though the road ahead was unknown, Jesus' mission was unambiguous. The family moved to other areas and found fresh possibilities as well as difficulties. With Jesus' influence mounting, every action pushed them closer to completing their heavenly mission. Though it was a tough choice, Jesus' safety required his leaving. His followers in Nazareth promised to carry on his work and disseminate his lessons over the area. The family traveled over difficult terrain and experienced terrible weather. They came upon individuals in need along the road, and Jesus' deeds of compassion and healing kept attracting people. The new areas they visited were rich ground for his message, and his impact started to go much beyond Nazareth. Number 21. The emerging legend. Stories of Jesus' healings kept on their spread far outside of Nazareth. His adherents multiplied in count, their faith constant. Jesus' impact spread over far-off areas. His reputation developed with every recounting. From Nazareth, the small child was starting to represent divine intervention and hope. Openly welcoming him, communities were ready to see his miracles and hear his lessons. For those who came into contact with Jesus, his presence illuminated and inspired. Traveling with Jesus and his family, they came across several villages with different needs and difficulties. Jesus left a lasting effect on the people by acting compassionately and healingly in all they visited. Word-of-mouth stories of his miracles traveled from towns and villages all around. His profile developed, and so did the count of his supporters. People started to view Jesus as a spiritual leader with a heavenly purpose, rather than only as a healer. Number 23. Legacy. When considering the influence of young Jesus' miracles, both ancient and contemporary, communities realized the great importance of his early blessings. Finding the papyrus confirmed the ongoing influence of Jesus' words and deeds. Generations of people kept being inspired by his message of love, compassion, and heavenly force, thereby guiding faith and historical development. Early miracles of Jesus were eternal reminders of the divine presence on the earth, giving hope and direction to anyone who sought it, not only historical events. Number 24. Travels of the Papyrus. From ancient times to its modern discovery, the path of the papyrus told a story of preservation and mystery. The book has been passed over many hands under the protection of people who understood its value. From early Christian societies to medieval monasteries, the papyrus was kept secure, and its secrets were just ready to be discovered. At last, it arrived ready to expose its secret facts. The narrative of its preservation attested to the ongoing relevance of Jesus' early deeds and lessons. The path of the papyrus was one of danger and tranquility alternately. Thanks to the care of people who preserved it, it survived invasions, natural calamities, and aging. In medieval monasteries, monks delicately replicated their contents to guarantee their survival over centuries. Hidden in secret chambers, the papyrus was passed down through generations of stewards aware of its worth. The result of years of meticulous preservation, its ultimate discovery came. Number 25. Deciphered papyrus. Scholars in the current day at last cracked the whole papyrus. With thorough details and insights, the book verified the stories of Jesus' early healings. As religious groups and historians dug into its ramifications, the discovery attracted attention worldwide. Conferences, publications, and debates were held centered on this amazing discovery. The papyrus developed as a link, bridging old faith with modern knowledge, therefore enhancing the fabric of Christian history. At an international conference where academics from around the world convened to consider the ramifications, Dr. Anderson's team presented their results. The thorough reports of Jesus' miracles offered a fresh understanding of his early life and work. While scholars valued the historical background the papyrus offered, religious leaders considered it as evidence of long-held beliefs validated. The findings sparked fresh enthusiasm in early Christian history, which drove more digs and studies of the era. These days, the deciphered papyrus has become a pillar of historical and theological study. When the team released their results, the globe responded with respect and wonder. While academics delighted at the rich insights into ancient behaviors and beliefs, religious groups praised the confirmation of Jesus' early miracles. Young Jesus' miracles left behind a legacy that motivated the next generations to follow his lessons and hunt the divine in their life. Reminded of the continuing power of faith and love, his early wonders, preserved over time, kept hope and direction for mankind. If you found joy and inspiration in exploring the miracles of Jesus, please like, share, and subscribe for more profound insights into our shared spiritual heritage. Thank you for being part of this enlightening journey.